Well, our guest needs no introduction to this audience, but we're going to give him one anyway. He's an internationally known psychologist, radio and television personality, and speaker. He's the author of more than 30 books, including the groundbreaking The Birth Order book. And lastly, he's a man who is very different from his sister, Dr. Kevin Leman. Welcome back to Full Circle.
Hey, good to be with you.
Now, you know, you're the baby, and you say your sisters, and you guys are very, very different.
My sister, she was the perfect one in our family. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she puts newspaper under the cuckoo clock to this day.
I was like, oh.
And she would never wear a shirt like that.
Oh, no. And she's color coordinated. And you come to her home and the clear vinyl runner greets you. It's a very warm feeling. I've never seen her furniture, and I'm her brother. Covered with sheets.
Okay,
I actually call my sister Martha Stewart because I'm the baby too, and I don't know if she thinks that's a compliment. I think it's a compliment. Like, I'd love to have my house as organized as her and be perfect in every way. Not that she is perfect.
Well, and I married Mrs. Uppington, who is sort of my sister incarnate in many ways. She's a bossy firstborn.
But we're not here to talk about the Birth Order book, although...
We can talk whatever you girls want to talk about.
Well,
the smell of
You are
estrogen.
still as cheeky as you were last year, you know that?
You know what? I got to show your socks though, because I mean the shirt is one thing, but the socks. Can you lift up your? I don't know. We don't want you to hurt
Well,
yourself.
let's see. How do we do this? I want to do this
Can we
ladylike.
get there? It is.
It is.
You know what? The
Yeah.
sock. It's
Does your wife know that you
go
have
out this
these
way?
things in your...
Mrs. Uppington.
Yeah, she understands me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's fine with that.
She's good with that?
Well, she wouldn't be caught dead with something like this on, but nevertheless,
Okay.
she loves me.
After like
and
40
so,
years,
you know, we
right?
got 5 kids, by the way.
I was just going to ask you: are any of your kids like you?
My son he has a wonderful sense of humor. And speaking of humor, God had a great sense of humor because Sandy got pregnant at age 48. And of course, with the 5th born at 48, the good news for every woman listening is there's no labor whatsoever. Achoo! Oh, what a beautiful daughter. What a beautiful daughter. But yeah, we got 5 kids. So we're still rearing kids, and look at me, I'm near death.
So what you've written in your book, you are living to this day. This is stuff that you are proving day by day.
You know, to have a new kid by Friday is, but let me say this clearly, it's a scam. It's a scam.
I'm shocked.
Bless you.
You could have a new kid by Wednesday.
By Wednesday.
It only takes a couple days to turn a kid's behavior around. And parents don't get it. They just don't get it that kids actually want to please us. They want to please us. And you need to treat kids in the way you expect them to behave, and guess what? They behave that way. But all of our parenting is based upon traditional, I'm better than you are relationships. Okay, the authoritarian. Now by the way, you sounded like a pastor earlier. For those who are into theological things, here's the question. Is God an authoritarian? Does God grab us by the scruff of the neck, twist our earlobe, and say, hey, you listen up. You're going to do what I tell you to do. See, and that's how parents are. Parents are authoritarian. But now we have the permissives. And the permissives, of course, are the opposite of the authoritarians. And they're the ones that say things like, Melinda plays soccer, Dr. Leman, but it's non-competitive soccer. We believe every child should be a winner. Every child gets a trophy. I mean, where do they get these things from? I'm telling you. Hey, would you kids turn that TV down? I'm trying to do your homework. And so the permissives are into making sure kids are happy all the time. And I'm here to tell you, our goal as parents, Maggie, are you listening?
I'm listening.
A 2.5-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the goal is not to create a happy child. In fact, one of the best lines in Have a New Kid by Friday is this: an unhappy child is a healthy child. There's times your little
Ethan,
oh, even better. Little Ethan needs to be unhappy. Why? Because he didn't do what mommy asked to do. He disobeyed. He misbehaved. So it's not about happiness. And the other thing I'd point out, that mommies who have sons, represent all of womanhood to this little boy. And for centuries, men have wiped their feet on women. It's got to stop. If it stops in the home where the parent, the female, has a position of authority, okay? And again, this didn't come out of my head. This is a guy named, what was his name? St. Paul, that's it, St. Paul. I never caught his last name, but I know it's Paul. And I know he's important because there's a lot of churches and schools named after the guy. But he was the one that said, children, obey your parents. It's the right thing to do because God has placed them in authority over you. So this isn't coming out of Kevin Leman's head. I ripped off St. Paul. In fact, I owe him a lot of royalties someday. But all I'm saying is you need, as a mommy, a healthy stance with little Ethan, because kids are hedonistic little suckers. They're unionized. They have a game plan. And because they're so adorable. Oh, Dr. Leman, if you could meet Ethan, you would see what I mean. He is adorable.
He is adorable.
Thank you.
And so, even, I'll never forget saying to my wife, I said, would you look at that? Talking to about my one son, Kevin. I said, look at him. And he was just misbehaving big time. And she looked at me and she said, isn't he adorable? And so mommies and sons, a very special relationship as daddies and daughters. So
that's refreshing to hear because I see a lot of moms and parents who do let their children do whatever. And my husband and I always feel like, are we being a little too hard on Ethan? Are we, because we do try to rein him in because we think he's 2.5. He still has a lot to learn. And so that's refreshing to hear that we're not, we are kind of.
Is your husband on the same page as you are?
Yes. Yes.
Then Ethan's got it made. He's got it made in life because he's going to have those parameters. So mom and dad are on the same page. When mom and dad are not on the same page, when I say we've seen the enemy and they're small, I'm not kidding. They can drive a wedge between these two people that don't have their act together. And for all the people who are in blended families, his and hers, and then ours, if you're not shoulder to shoulder, I put it in writing my books, you will not succeed in your marriage. The kids will defeat you. And so
how do you get started in that? Like if you're at, like, say with Maggie, or you're a new parent, or even like one that's dealing with teens, how do you start getting on the same page? Because that might be a big issue, right? In couples.
Because the women are going to take this book home and read it, and the men are not going to read it.
Right.
Chances are.
Yeah. Well, there's part of the challenge, I think, for us men, and this is difficult for men to vocalize, but it's true. Women are closer to life than men are. The smart man will tap into his wife and say, honey, what do you think? The smart man gets behind his wife's eyes and see how she sees life. Because she sees life, believe it or not, more realistically than he does, okay? Which goes against what most people in the culture feel. Conversely, you get behind each other's eyes, and if one parent is too strong, too aggressive, he has to back off, where the other one, who might be a little bit more docile or permissive, you have to move toward that midpoint. So there's an agreement, at least agreement, Melinda, to the point where we're not going to disagree in front of the kids. We're going to be united front, because if you do that, they'll bury you. There's no two ways about it. But the point is, and I want to make this point about parenting. We hear about how difficult it is. Yes, I'm not here to tell you it's easy, but it is simple. There's a simple plan to turn kids' behavior around, and it can happen like that.
And you call this reality parenting. And I have to say that it's hard for me. I don't know if it's because I'm the baby or because I have this justice idea, but you have this whole idea where you don't say things twice, and you let them have the consequences. You don't tell them what the consequences are. If they don't do what you say that one time, they bear it. Like, explain that, because that to me is like, that's not fair.
I know, that's mean. That's harsh.
I would say
That was baby too.
You know what? I think it has to do with the parenting that you lived under too, because I'm on the same page with Dr. Leman.
I want
I'm
some
the
warning.
same. Yes.
I want some warning.
Amen.
If you don't do that, this is going to happen. Just
Okay,
have it
Cheryl.
happen.
The social justice chairwoman.
Exactly.
It's got to be
Thank you.
fair.
Exactly.
It's not fair.